Hey guys, what's going on? This is Jordan, and I'm dropping in here to walk you through our vision frame for Community Gospel Church. A vision frame has four sides, and on those four sides, when you get those constructed properly and they line up well in the middle, you'll see a picture come to fruition. And so our goal in this video is to give the vision frame, all four sides of that vision frame, and then so we can see a picture of what that looks like when everything is said and done. Community Gospel exists first and foremost to make Christ known near and far. So you're going to hear that said at Community Gospel Church all the time. Whether it's your first Sunday or your 500th Sunday, most likely somebody's going to say it, or you're going to see it printed somewhere. And so a lot of people know what that is in regards to a sentence, but not a lot of people understand what that looks like as it comes to fruition. So our values come off of our mission. What are we trying to accomplish in that regard? And that's fourfold. Number one, we want to see gospel-centered people. Number two, we want to strive for spiritual growth. That would be disciples, making disciples. So you become a disciple of Jesus Christ, and then you disciple somebody else. Number three would be committed to the cause of making Christ known. I messed that up a little bit, but you have gospel-centered people. That's number one. Striving for spiritual growth. Number two, disciples making disciples. Number three, and then committed to the cause of making Christ known. So if we look at that one side of where we're at in regards to the vision frame, that's what it looks like for people to make Christ known near and far. They come to know Christ through a relationship with God through faith in Jesus, confessing with their mouth and believing in their heart that Jesus Christ is Lord. They move into striving to grow spiritually. So we want to have that growth take place. We want to see that maturity manifest. And then we don't just keep it for ourselves. We give it away to somebody else, not giving away our salvation, but giving away the opportunity where somebody has or can participate in the same things that we have participated in. It's like that verse that says, "Come, taste and see that the Lord is good." So it's not just for us, it's for others that we spread the gospel of Christ. And then we look at it, commitment is central to all of those things. So you have at the core, a gospel-centered person striving for spiritual growth, a disciple that makes disciples and is committed to the cause. So if that's a piece of the vision frame, we move into the strategy of how that happens and what that looks like. We believe that spiritual growth happens, and those four things are manifest by individuals who are weekly involved in the following things. And this is where we move out of this document and into another document called the plate. And as we look at the plate, what we see is this is where people first and foremost consume. So this is the consumption of good quality things that are going to help people become gospel-centered, help them strive for spiritual growth, be a disciple that disciples others, and has the opportunity to be committed to the cause. So part of that would be corporate worship on a Sunday morning. Looking at where everybody comes into a gathering that is centered on biblical teaching, impressing the scriptures on the hearts of students. So we have children's ministry for those people who have children. We have youth ministry for those people who have teenagers, and then small group ministry. Now, small group ministry could be an actual small group ministry, but it could also be a men's and women's offering. So we have various small groups of people that are all throughout the entire church. So we're seeing the first thing, the meat of all of this is going to be committed to the corporate worship gathering on a Sunday morning, moving into the other pockets throughout the week that we're participating in, whether that be for our children, our youth, or for ourselves, where we have a little bit of a smaller setting in men's and women's as well as small group ministries. So that's going to be the primary and the secondary place where people are going to plug in. Then we see kind of some of the extras that are on the plate that are also vital for us is going to be things like reaching inward to taking care of people's needs, connecting with people in other serving opportunities. So we don't just want to consume, we also want to have that individual serve too as well. And then all of this ultimately culminates in missions. So when we look at a missions ministry, we realize that's praying for missionaries, our full-time missionaries, as well as taking the gospel to our workplaces and our homes and seeing ourselves as missionaries, disciples that are making disciples. And so on a weekly basis, we're going to see, and we're just going to ask, how's that working out? How's it going in regards to, are you making corporate worship a priority? Are you making sure that your students and your teenagers are involved in youth and children's ministry? Are you yourself and your spouse involved in some sort of a group life? And what's that look like for you, reaching inward as well as reaching outward with things like missions, and making sure that you're sharing your faith and it's not just something that you're selfish with. So in all of those committed weekly things, we're going to see gospel-centered people. We're going to see a striving for spiritual growth. We're going to see disciples making disciples, and commitment transpire as some of these habits are manifesting and taking root. Going back to that entire vision frame, now we're starting to see the picture come a little bit clearer. So you have one side, obviously values, then you have strategy on what that looks like. We build a little bit further based off of measures. Now I know you've probably seen this in the chairs in the sanctuary, but we've never really had an opportunity to walk through this document. So if you go to communitygospelchurch.com, and you go into our resources tab, and you go to our discipleship tab, you're going to see these all broken out. Now there is a video here that explains this whole thing. So we're not actually going to go through that. If you want to, you can walk through a video explanation here, but you can also download the bookmark. But what this does is that this helps us to see where somebody's at in the stages of their spiritual growth. Are they kind of an infant believer? Are they more of an adolescent believer? Are they into maybe a more mature believer? Or are they really kind of advanced in regards to their spiritual disciplines? Like I said, this is all outlined here in this video, but this also is a really good jumping off point to have conversations with people with. So you can ask them, hey, have you accepted the gospel? What are you reading in the Bible? What does your study look like in regards to principles? Are we on basic principles still in regards to doctrine and some of those things? Or are we down here with, maybe a doctrine study that's a little bit more mature? What's it look like to be active and involved in corporate worship? What about prayer? How's that working out? Even some of these other places, we're talking about baptism and then looking at church membership. These are good questions to have with people. Have you taken that next step of baptism because you are a professing believer? Have you, because you've taken the act of baptism, jumped into church and seen the value of covenant membership? And then we see down here some of the advancements. So I'm not going to exhaust that a whole lot because, like I said, there's a video on this, but this is a good thing for you to have in regards to sharing a conversation that goes a little bit deeper than the weather. Actually, it goes a lot of bit deeper than the weather. So first, so we see this vision frame start to kind of manifest and make itself known, where you have our church, the mission of making Christ known, encompassed in these values, strategic in regards to our approach, making sure that we're measuring things well. And then to culminate, kind of the last thing, side, if you will, we see this picture come to fruition of what our church as well as our communities will look like if people are walking on these paths. And that is the outcome of all of these things, is a transformed church, a transformed community, and a transformed world for the gospel. So the church has been transformed because it's committed to these spiritual disciplines. In turn, the community is transformed because it's feeling the effects of those people in those spiritual disciplines, which ultimately changes the world for the gospel. And it looks forward with great anticipation to the fact that Christ has come, but he also is coming back again as well. Now, with that said, you're going to start to see some of these documents a little bit more, which is just our vision and values. And you'll see this looking at light switches for a reason, because if it's next to a light switch, you get that opportunity to kind of turn on a light bulb for somebody where they can see justification, sanctification, glorification encompassed in our statements, and then also see what we're striving to do as a body of believers, with being gospel centered, spiritually growing, disciples making disciples, and committed to the cause of making Christ known. So that transformation is taking place. This is a good, actually a great document for us all to memorize, so that we have the opportunity to show people not only what the church is, but why the church exists and what we're striving to do as a body of believers. So all those documents are going to be there for you. Go ahead and look at some of those things. We would love to know what's working, what's not working. As you're having conversations, what's clear, what could be clearer, how we could help. This is kind of our beta testing and rolling this out, and we want to go from good to great with it too as well. So by all means, questions, comments, concerns, reach out to me, let me know, and we'll continue to talk through it as we make Christ known near and far. Thanks so much. God bless you guys. I'll talk to you soon.